A rare glimpse inside the Birmingham Central Goods Station tunnel. It's one of two tunnels that allowed goods trains to get right into the city centre. This is what the tunnel looked like when it was in use. Today we're on a tour with the Branch Line Society to view the route used by freight trains until the 1960s. It's strange to think that there was a goods yard in the centre of a city, but that's the way it was in those days, and this was the Birmingham Central Goods Station. Difficult to visualise it now as there's so little of it left, but it certainly was an impressive sight. Originally known as Worcester Wharf because of its close proximity to the Birmingham-Worcester Canal, the central Birmingham goods station could take 375 wagons on a site that was reputedly wider than New Street Station and about a third of its length. The goods station opened in July 1887 and closed in March 1967. When it closed, the site was used for a British rail building called Stanier House. This street view picture shows that building. A couple of years ago it was knocked down to make way for a new development. Anyway, back to the tunnels. The first one's called the Granville Street Tunnel. Give it a closer look and you'll find one of the original lamps still attached to the tunnel mouth. The tunnel was needed to go underneath the canal. Nearby there's a rather ornate aqueduct allowing Holiday Street to go under the same canal. At the other end of the tunnel, the line enters a wide cutting where the original Granville Street terminus was located. Nothing remains of the station, which only operated for 9 years before passenger services were extended into New Street Station, leaving the line exclusively for goods traffic.
I think that was one of the issues, its location, because of where it was. There wasn't very much footfall here ultimately, or there wasn't very much need to come through to this part of Birmingham. Although just behind me was where the Cadbury's factory started off in Birmingham before it moved to Bourneville. I just don't think there was the demand to come to here. The Midland Railway realised as time went on and as Birmingham New Street developed that that was the place to be.
Well, we're midway along the goods line now and it's raining, but you can see that there's a quite high brick wall. Well, that's the line into New Street from places like Bourneville, the Western Suburban Line. And if you look at the top of the tunnel, it's got an interesting sort of castle-type brickwork on it. No one knows exactly why it's like this. Perhaps one of the Victorian builders was being creative. A little further on and you catch a glimpse of the Bath Row Tunnel, flanked by a huge retaining wall. Unlike the Granville Street Tunnel, it can only take one track. This old photo shows the same tunnel soon after the diversionary line into New Street, here seen on the right, had been built, and you can again see that castle-like brickwork. Here the line splits into two tracks, and the reason for that? Well, it seems to stem from the existence of a burial ground. Yet more evidence of the railways in the retaining wall and that blue brick, but just above it you can see a different type of wall, and just beyond that wall is the Jewish cemetery. This old map shows the burial ground in the middle of the two tracks. Do we know much about why one leg goes into a tunnel and one leg sort of doesn't go into a tunnel?
Well, I think that's something to do with where you've got the Worcester Canal. So originally you'd have had some level ground adjacent to the Worcester Canal, and I think what happened is with the Jewish burial ground where it was, I would imagine that in the Act of Parliament giving the powers for this railway line, that they encountered a challenge and needed to pass either side.
Next up, we're passing underneath Islington Row Middleway, part of Birmingham's Ring Road, and immediately after that... We've now reached what is Five-Way Station, at least the modern Five-Way Station, built in I think the 70s or 80s, but if you look behind me you can see what is the old Five-Way Station building. It's all that remains of the old station. At the moment it seems to be a curry house, but a few years ago it was the headquarters for a printing firm. At Five Ways, the old goods line and the Western Suburban Line are side by side, and I was wondering how many passengers pass this point on their daily commute and have no idea about the old line's existence. Of course, you couldn't have failed to notice the line in the 1960s when these photos were taken. In those days, both lines were vital arteries into a busy city. It seems very surreal to be walking along a disused railway line in the middle of the UK's second city, but this line is still here, a bit overgrown, but it is still here and still serving a purpose. And that purpose, we're told, is to allow for the movement of railroad vehicles to access the rail network when repairs are needed along the line.
It forms a vital connection point to the railway. As you imagine, we're moving trains around, but also you'll often need to bring maintenance vehicles, road rail access vehicles, and today this provides us with a key route onto the railway in the centre of Birmingham.
Well, a big thanks to Network Rail for opening up the various gates to this amazing railway corridor, and the Branch Line Society for letting me tag along. The event was staged to help raise money for Dementia UK. There's a link in the description if you want to donate. Also, if you enjoyed today's video, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to tell your friends about this channel.